What if I told you that Microsoft built a music player that was, in many ways, technically superior to the iPod? It had a larger screen. It had a built-in FM radio. It had wireless sharing, a feature Apple wouldn't introduce for years. Microsoft poured an estimated $1 billion into this project. They leveraged their massive software empire to launch it. Yet, within a few years, it was completely obsolete. A ghost of technology. This wasn't a failure of engineering. It was a failure of strategy. A death by 1,000 cuts that serves as one of the most important case studies in modern business. In the mid-2000s, Microsoft was the undisputed king of technology. Windows was on nearly every computer on the planet. Their dominance seemed absolute. But a threat was emerging, not from a software company, but from Apple. The iPod, launched in 2001, was more than a gadget. It was a cultural phenomenon. The iconic white earbuds were everywhere. By 2006, Apple had sold over 70 million of them, dominating more than 75% of the digital music player market. Microsoft saw the writing on the wall. Music was the gateway to a new world of digital content. They needed an answer. That answer was the Zune. The Zune wasn't a bad product. But it failed spectacularly. So, how did one of the world's most powerful companies, with near limitless resources, fail to compete with a device that was, on paper, so similar to its own? That's the question we're answering today. To understand the Zune's failure, we have to look beyond the device itself. The problem wasn't the hardware. It was a series of strategic blunders in timing, ecosystem, and marketing. The first rule of a gold rush is that you have to show up on time. Microsoft was catastrophically late. The first Zune launched in November of 2006. The first iPod launched in October of 2001. That is a 5-year gap. In the world of technology, 5 years is an eternity. In that time, Apple didn't just sell a product. It built a category and then cemented its ownership of it. The phrase MP3 player was already being replaced in the public mind with iPod. It achieved what every brand dreams of. It became the generic term for the product. This had a powerful psychological effect. The iPod was the default choice. The safe choice. Its white earbuds became a status symbol, a public signal of being part of the in crowd. By 2006, the market wasn't just crowded, it was conquered. Microsoft's strategy was to enter this conquered market with a list of better features. The Zune's larger screen was objectively better for video. Its FM tuner was a genuinely useful addition that the iPod lacked. But features don't sell products when a competitor has already captured the culture. Microsoft was trying to convince millions of people who were perfectly happy with their iPods that they had made the wrong choice. They were asking users to abandon a familiar device, a library of purchased music, and a powerful brand identity for something new, unproven, and, well, brown. The first-generation Zune's signature color became a running joke. The problem wasn't just a brand gap. It was an infrastructure gap. By the time the Zune arrived, Apple's second strategic pillar was already an impenetrable fortress. The true genius of the iPod was never the device itself. It was the ecosystem that surrounded it. The iPod. The iTunes software on your computer. And the iTunes Store. This three-part system was a masterclass in vertical integration. It was a closed garden, and the walls were incredibly high. Finding music was easy. Buying it was a single click. Syncing it to your device was seamless. It just worked. Microsoft knew it had to compete on this front. So, they built the Zune marketplace. But their execution was fatally flawed. Instead of simple dollar-based pricing, Microsoft initially forced users to buy Microsoft points. You couldn't just buy a song for 99 cents. You had to buy a block of points, like 400 points for $5, and then spend 79 points on a song. This created an immediate layer of friction and confusion. It felt less like a store and more like a casino arcade. Their subscription service, Zune Pass, was a forward-thinking idea, offering unlimited music for a monthly fee. But in an era where ownership of music was paramount, the subscription model was a hard sell for the mass market. Worse still, Microsoft completely botched its platform strategy. Before the Zune, Microsoft had championed a program called Plays for Sure. It was a licensing system that allowed various hardware makers to create devices compatible with music from different online stores. It was meant to be the open alternative to Apple's closed garden. With the launch of the Zune, Microsoft abandoned its own platform. The Zune was not Plays for Sure compatible. This move infuriated their partners like Creative, iRiver, and Dell, who had invested in the platform. And it sowed deep confusion among consumers. Microsoft, the champion of the open alternative, had suddenly created its own incompatible, closed system, a direct copy of the Apple strategy, but without the polish, the content, or the user base. They built an ecosystem, but no one wanted to live in it. Finally, and perhaps most crucially, Microsoft failed to answer the single most important question in marketing: who is this for? Apple's marketing was legendary for its clarity and focus. The silhouette ads with vibrant backgrounds and dancing figures were iconic. The message was simple: music, freedom, and cool. The tagline 1,000 songs in your pocket was a tangible, easily understood benefit. Apple sold a lifestyle. Microsoft, in a desperate attempt to not look like Apple, ran in the opposite direction and fell off a cliff. The Zune's marketing was a chaotic mess of abstract concepts and bizarre imagery. Commercials were dark, edgy, and frankly, weird. They tried to position the Zune as the cool, underground alternative. But the message never landed. Their central marketing theme was "Welcome to the Social." This was based on the Zune's Squirt feature, which let users wirelessly send a song to a nearby Zune user. The recipient could listen to the song 3 times over 3 days. It was an interesting idea, but it was a gimmick, not a revolution. It relied on you being physically near another person who also owned a Zune, a statistical improbability. The campaign failed to communicate a clear reason to buy the product. Was it for audiophiles? Hipsters? People who like sharing? The identity was completely muddled. Apple's ads made you want to be the person in the commercial. The Zune's ads left you wondering what you just watched. The name Zune itself was a liability. It was a strange, made-up word with no inherent meaning. iPod was also a made-up word, but Apple defined it with years of brilliant marketing. Microsoft never managed to make Zune stand for anything other than Microsoft's iPod competitor. This lack of identity was the final nail in the coffin. A product that is late to the market and has a clunky ecosystem can still survive if it builds a passionate tribe of users. But the Zune never found its tribe because it never knew who it was trying to attract. So, we see the ingredients of the disaster: a late entry, a flawed ecosystem, and a confused marketing message. But the real insight, the core strategic failure, lies deeper. Microsoft lost because they were fighting the wrong war. They thought the battle was about the product. They obsessed over building a better device. A device with a bigger screen, an FM radio, and Wi-Fi sharing. They looked at the iPod as a piece of hardware and built a competing piece of hardware with a better spec sheet. But Apple wasn't fighting a product war. They were fighting an ecosystem war. The iPod wasn't a standalone product. It was the physical key that unlocked a new digital lifestyle. Its real power wasn't in the click wheel or the storage capacity. It was in its seamless, frictionless integration with a user's entire digital life through the iTunes software and store. The Zune's features were just bullet points. The iPod's ultimate feature was its convenience and its connection to a universe of content. Microsoft, the world's biggest software company, ironically failed because they thought like a hardware company. They focused on the what, the device. Apple, which was known for its hardware, won because they thought like a software and services company. They focused on the how, the experience of acquiring, managing, and listening to music. Microsoft built a better music player. But Apple had already built a better way to live with music. And that's the secret. Microsoft was so focused on beating the device that they completely missed the ecosystem that made it powerful. If that insight just clicked for you, do us a favor and click the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns that go beyond the surface. The Zune's failure is a foundational lesson in modern business strategy. It proves that in a connected world, the product is no longer the entire battlefield. The real, defensible moat is the ecosystem. We see this principle everywhere. It's why you buy an iPhone or an Android, not just a phone. You're buying into iOS and the App Store, or into Google's suite of integrated services. It's why Tesla's supercharger network is as important as the cars themselves. It's why gamers commit to a PlayStation or an Xbox, locking themselves into a universe of exclusive titles and online services. The strategy is clear. Create a system where the value of the whole is far greater than the sum of its parts. Create an experience so seamless that leaving it feels like a genuine downgrade. A superior product can be copied. A superior ecosystem creates loyalty that is almost impossible to break. Microsoft eventually learned this lesson. The Zune brand is gone, but its DNA can be seen in the successful Xbox ecosystem, with its integrated hardware, software, and Game Pass subscription service. The expensive failure of the Zune ultimately helped Microsoft understand the new rules of the game. If you learned something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?